Hi, I'm artist Andrew Denman, and I'd like to show you how I create a painting from start to finish. My recent work, such as this painting of a spotted towhee, focus on wildlife painted in a unique style, merging areas of strict hyperrealism with areas of stylization and abstraction. I am especially interested in pattern and repetition. Texture, a strong sense of narrative, and color, including the non-objective use of color. Using this painting of orioles in blue-violet as an example, I'll bring you through the typical steps I take to create a painting. It begins like all of my work, with reviewing reference. I do a lot of field work and take many thousands of pictures every year, all of which are potential material for a painting. In this case, I select the best pictures of a male and female oriole taken during a recent trip to Mexico. The next step is to create thumbnail sketches and narrow down compositional possibilities. When I've arrived at an arrangement I like, I create a full-scale black and white value study. This is the time to work out anatomical details and refine spatial and value arrangements prior to starting work on the actual painting. Next, I faithfully transfer elements of my study to the board. Using masking tape and an X-Acto blade, I carefully mask portions of the underdrawing. With high viscosity gesso, tinted with acrylic paint, and a piece of perforated sheet metal, I lay in interesting background textures. With just an ordinary plastic bag with a hole cut in one end, used much like a cake decorator, I apply a targeted impasto underpainting that will describe, in a loose, gestural way, a portion of the female bird. Next, I paint over everything I've done with a thinner gesso overcoat. Once dry, it's time for one of the more unconventional steps in my process, sanding everything down until the board is smooth again. The raised ridges of the thick underpainting have been exposed, while the thinner overcoat has filled in the cracks and valleys, leaving me with the loose, intricately textured, evocative background, but on a perfectly smooth board, suitable for painting the fine detail I need for my process to continue. After all of this prep work, it's finally time to get this painting up on the easel and begin brush painting. Taking care to mask parts of the background I don't want to change, I do some glaze work. Followed by light sanding in order to effect subtle changes in color and value. Next, I transfer in the rest of my study. Red and green provide the basis of my black, and the rest of my fairly limited palette follows. A thin film of water helps keep the paint hydrated as I work. For many artists, blocking in is a rough affair. For me, it's a careful effort to lay in the rudiments of color and value while preserving the details of my laboriously prepared study. It's worth noting that the single most important factor in achieving the level of detail I need is viscosity control. The paint should be of a thin, syrupy consistency, a sort of compromise between optimal coverage and optimal flow. Also important is the number 1 script or liner brush, my favorite and most frequently used piece of equipment. It offers the artist a tremendous degree of precision and control, and feels more like a drawing stylus than a typical paintbrush. As I progress to the second pass, I refine texture and build up highlights. I very deliberately make my highlights brighter and chalkier than the final result I intend. This is in preparation for the transparent glaze work, which dramatically increases the color saturation without obscuring underlying detail. The final steps are pushing back and enriching the darks, while brightening and popping out the highlights. If all goes well, my hard work pays off in the finished piece.